Hey TechKnowStuds! In this lesson, we're going to start exploring storage devices. This will just be a high overview of these storage devices and what we're looking at when it comes to storage devices, and also the need for these storage devices. So let's jump into storage devices and what they look like. Your computer operates off of ones and zeros. Your documents are stored in ones and zeros. Your pictures are stored in ones and zeros. Really, everything on your computer was calculated off of these ones and zeros, and we have a need to store these ones and zeros. Maybe the data that we're storing are the alphabets and numbers and characters that we want to store, maybe some sort of word processing document that we want to store. Well, we convert those to ones and zeros, and we need to store those ones and zeros. Your pictures are stored in ones and zeros. Your picture is made up of different pixels, and each one of those pixels has a certain amount of red, a certain amount of green, and a certain amount of blue, all of which we store in these ones and zeros. These ones and zeros need to be stored somehow. Whether they're being stored just temporary, ready to be processed by the processor, or stored in something long-term, like let's say we want to save a document or save our pictures, storage is a huge part of how our computers work. There's really four functions of a computer. We have the input, we have the processing, and we have the output, and some sort of storage. In fact, your computer typically uses quite a few different types of storage. We have that short-term storage in the RAM. So the RAM is what holds data right before it gets processed. Or we have long-term storage that we're storing in some sort of device long-term, so that way we can save our work. We also have just read-only memory, which has data stored on it that gets sent to the processor when initially booting up. So there's different components on your computer that serve different purposes and have different characteristics. In fact, storage has different characteristics. Whether it's volatile, non-volatile, or read-only memory, or perhaps it's different media, what it's stored on. We can store it on paper, optical, magnetic, solid state, and there's a lot more. There are different components. There are RAM, ROM, SSDs, flash that we could use with our computers. There are different form factors, the size and shape of them, or there are different protocols such as SATA, SAS, and NVMe. For any storage device we have, we could point out the characteristics they have, the media that they're stored on, the different components that they're used for on the computer, the form factor it is, and the different protocols or interfaces that they have. So with the characteristics, that's kind of the outcome, what it is that we're trying to achieve, or it boils down to what we're trying to achieve. The media, what it's actually being stored on, where it's being stored onto. We have the components, which are different parts of the computer. We have the form factors, which is the size and shape, and the protocols and interfaces, how it actually interacts or how it interfaces with the actual computer. And the way we name certain devices can be a little interesting. For instance, there are components on a computer that I could call non-volatile memory, and that's the name of it. Or perhaps I call it a ROM, read-only memory. Or perhaps I call it by its form factor, like mSATA. Or perhaps I call it by its interface, like NVMe. So I could call certain storage by different names, even though it could be referring to the same device. So throughout this module, we're actually going to be exploring these different realms of storage devices.